Well, this isn't intimidating at all, is it? Wow, wow. I have never gigged to this many women, let alone underage. This is the first thing I've ever done in my entire career, where I'm pretty sure no one's drunk. My name is Irish, and you're a very intelligent looking audience. I think you figured out fairly quickly that that is in fact a nickname. I joined the Royal Navy 27 years ago, and when I turned up, there was 3 people on the same unit called Michael. So I got called Irish Michael, and eventually we just done away with the fucking Michael part of that. So those of you that are paying attention, you will be asking yourselves a second question. Did that motherfucker just bring a backpack on that stage? Is he going to take that with him when he leaves? And what do we do if he doesn't? Is there any other Irish people in here? Where are you? I can't see. Up at the back? Whereabouts are you from? Oh, me too. We shall chat later. Well, so I tell you what, if I forget that bag, whatever she does, you do. So those of you in the front row, you'll have noticed something else. You'll be asking yourselves a wee question. You'll be like, Irish mate, what the fuck are you wearing on your feet? I'll show you. Look at those bad boys. Look at those, right? So a few years ago I went from being a rating to being an officer, right? And my wife, Belfast, I'm from a council estate in Belfast, my wife bought me these shoes. She was like, and I've only ever seen shoes like these on high-end women in those movies that you and I definitely don't watch, never ever, not once, not ever. No. You know what I mean? That's the only time I've ever seen shoes, and the ladies, you will know what this means. So I thought they looked quite expensive. I was like, how much did they cost? And she was like 600 quid. And I was so fucking angry. I missed the bit she said, per shoe. Honest to God, the irony is the most expensive thing I own, and effectively they're a pair of MILF slippers. And I say that in front of an audience filled with MILF. This is a crazy show, I'm loving it. So my wife also said, we went to a wedding in Belfast, and said you should wear those shoes when you go to that wedding, let people know how well you're doing. I was like, it's not a kneecapping offence, but someone will remove them from me and beat the shit out of me with them. And I call that lady Mum. It's true, Belfast. You wouldn't wear these shoes shopping around Belfast, would you? Absolutely not. Good girl. They are shite. One of my mates said to me, he goes, I didn't know Christian Louboutin made shoes for men. They don't. They absolutely don't. So is this your only baby? Is your only baby? Hi, only baby. So you're pretty sure you know which baby is your favourite? Down pat, that one. You don't have a favourite baby? No. Not even that one? Little man, I feel for you. No wonder you look upset with parents like this. So I have 3 kids, right? My youngest kid is my favourite. And people say, you can't have a favourite child. That's sort of bollocks. I've got a favourite person in this room already. This little guy. It's my favourite. But yeah, my youngest is my favourite, because she's just really, really funny. And I'll put this kid in context, because you've got all this good stuff to come. My youngest is my wife is from Lancashire in England. My kids are very English. They speak with a very well-spoken English accent. So my daughter, when she was 5, did an assembly, and they had to pretend to be someone. So my English daughter pretended to be her drunken, Belfast-born dad. So on a Saturday night, I do the phone call home. I'm home with a school friend. We're reminiscing about old times. We're reminiscing about the things that we've done in the past. And there's a wee bit of an insult thing that happens. And that's what my daughter at 5 years old did. She was stood in front of 250 other 5-year-old kids. And she did this. She went, your ma's your dad. Your dad's your dog. Your dog's fucking dead. I got a phone call about that. She got a nickname though. She got a nickname, and that nickname is T3. It stands for Teeny Tiny Terrorist. Any teachers in here? Yeah? Bastards. But yeah, she's now 10 years old. She's a very, very funny kid. She just says like random stuff. So I picked her up at the end of school last year. And as we're walking down the street, she just goes, hey Dad, it's my favourite lamppost right there. And I turned round and somebody had drawn a big Comedy Willie on it. Turns out it was her. Kids, man, you've got all this to come. These. So is anybody got older kids, or is these the first one? Who said move? So what's the separation between them? 3 years. See, same thing for me. All three of my kids were born in the 3 years. So that's that phone call I'm talking about. I did that phone call on the way back home, and because I've got a strong Irish accent, and so does my mate, I was surprised that when the phone call was over, my 13-year-old son said to me, he said, "Hey Dad, what's a wank bank?" Yeah, but I had a few beers, so I thought, fuck it, I'll explain it. But I find it's better if we do this visually. So what you would do, back in the day before instantaneous porn on a mobile phone, you'd have to find someone that you found attractive. You would walk up to that person, hiya, and what you would do is you'd look at them and you go, click. And that's you. You're in the wank bank now. By midnight tonight, you're going to feel a flutter in the fanny area. And you're going to think it's because you've just given birth. It isn't. That's telepathy. That's me cracking one out over you. It's 11 o'clock in the morning, people. I can't believe I just did that. So, what's your name, hello? Claire. Well, you know what to say, Claire. Always nice to put a face to a name. What's your name, sir? James. James, I'm not going to lie to you. Got a little bit of you in that picture. There's going to be a tingle, and that's going to be me. Oh. I've just returned from Edinburgh Festival, and that is the earliest I have ever done that joke. And it feels weird, especially doing it in front of babies, because let's be fair, you wouldn't have him if you'd have just went. Yeah, so my wife and I, so if you're new husbands, I've been married for 16 years, there's not many husbands in here, I can only see 2, but here's a bit of advice for you. When you're having conversations with your wife about your kids, remember 2 things. Don't disagree with her, and she's always right. Them's the rules. My 10-year-old, the one I just talked about, she wanted the TikTok. She said, "Dad, can we get the TikTok?" And I was like, my wife disagreed, she's too young, 10 is not old enough to have the TikTok. So I did the brave husband thing, I waited for my wife to go to the shops and downloaded the TikTok. Husbands, I've never been wrong more fast in my fucking life. My daughter watched one viral video, came up to me and she said, "Hey Dad, high five." So I go to high five this little shit, she slips the high five, punches me straight in the balls. I work from home. Whose is this? There you go. I work from home, so I'm like kind of cross-legged. It's like a ball sandwich. It's ball, air, chair, boom. And I'm no biologist, but your balls are directly connected to your fucking lungs. I lost the ability to breathe. I rolled out of the chair. I had to crawl to the bathroom whilst watching this kid run out of the living room, laughing her ass off. And ladies, you won't know this. You won't know this. But when you get a good ball shot, you can't sit normal. No. Separation's what's required. And then they're just dangling in the breeze. Dirty bitch. You would have think you'd had enough. But yeah, so they're dangling, but after about 20 minutes I get the feeling back and I hear my wife come back from the shops. So I'm like, okay, I gotta go admit I was wrong. As I walk down the corridor, I get to the living room door and all I hear is, "Hey Mum, high five." I walk in the living room and that's when I found out that really hurts women too. She got her right in the mummy daddy button, you know what I'm saying? She had rolled onto the floor, she's in the field position, kids running out laughing her ass off again. But it turns out punching squishy balls and punching a funny bone, it's not the same thing. There was an audible click in her wrist. 15 minutes later I'm in the doctor's office. I've got 4 female women nurses looking at me going, "So Mr. McMahon, how did your daughter hurt her wrist?" And on the way down I practiced, I was like, she fell her bike. But out loud under that kind of pressure, I couldn't lie. So I said she punched her mum in the pussy. And the woman, the lead nurse looked at me and she went, "TikTok? It's a viral video for a reason." And it gave me PTSD, and ladies, you're not going to like this, I have 3 kids. The 3rd kid, when it comes out, it's a bit like a slip and slide. You know, I'm pretty sure I heard the baby go wee on the way out. You know what I'm saying? So I tried to make light of it. I said, we were only in there 90 minutes, flash to bang. I've got the park ticket to this day. We were 90 minutes arriving to leaving. That's how fast it was. And there was a little bit of tearing, right? A little bit of tearing, but otherwise it was a very chilled out affair, even for my wife. So I tried to make a joke. I was like, "Oh, it's always about the woman." The lead nurse looked at me and said, "Mr. McMahon, your wife has just had a baby." And I was like, so I decided to make a joke because I think I'm funny. In a room filled with women, I said, "Well, you wouldn't go to a restaurant and thank the oven." You laughed, they did not laugh. That lead nurse looked at me so hard, I just sat the fuck down and shut up. But there was a little privacy blanket over my wife's knees, right? And there was a nurse in there, there was a nurse in there dealing with a tear, and she just popped her head up and she went, Mrs. McMahon, when I'm finished doing these lips, do you want me to do his? So we're back in the room, so my wife's now, she's feeling uncomfortable with this punch shot, and my daughter's wrist needs to be addressed. She says, husband, I'm going to go in with Saoirse, this very Irish name, I'm going to go in with Saoirse and just get myself checked out. She came out and she said, got bad news for you. Saoirse has a sprained wrist, but there's no sex for 3 months. You know what she had? Deep clitoral tissue damage. You know what, when I heard that phrase, my balls went up. I was like, oh my dear God. Like, I was fine by this point, but no sex for 3 months, so I was fucking furious, right? No sex for 3 months, but not about the no sex thing. I'm in the Navy, I've not had sex for 3 months before. I've been banging that fanny for 15 years. Not so much as a fucking bruise. My ego couldn't take it. I went after that like an angry woodpecker. Nothing. It was on that day, ladies and gentlemen, that I found out I have less punching power than a 10-year-old girl. It was hard for me to take. But I gotta tell you about this. When I did the Edinburgh Fringe, I did 33 shows in 6 days, and the best show I did was called An Asian Occasion. So I'm about to tell you a story. There you go. I'm about to tell you a story. So this guy was in the audience. I put his wife in the wank bank, and he wanted me specifically for 2 things. He wanted me to put his mother-in-law in the wank bank because he hates her, and he wanted me to tell the story of my trip to Asda. But I was like, an Asian occasion, what is that? He says, well, it's an Asian comedy festival for Asians, by Asians. I was like, you have seen me, right? He was like, well, no, you're Caucasian, that works. Do you remember in the 90s when we had to write Caucasian on forms? Because nobody could fucking spell it, we went back to just saying white. Insane. So I went and did this show, put his mother-in-law in the wank bank, and told this story. There's 2 things to note about this story, very important. One is, it was a warm day, but it was raining, so I was wearing a jacket, but it was unzipped. And the plastic bag I pulled out of the boot was last used to carry wet swimming shorts. Very important part of the story, that. So I get in, and the first weird thing that happened was a woman trying to return in Asda a toaster that she bought in Tesco, and could not understand why the lady wouldn't do the exchange. But right behind her was this little Chinese lady who just had enough. She was there longer than me, lost her shit, started screaming in Chinese until this woman very uncomfortably left. So like I saw, I was, well, I don't know what you said, well done. And she spoke to me and it blew my mind. She had a stronger Belfast accent than I do. She was like, I don't even fucking speak Chinese. I'm 8th generation. That was a list of menu number 1. And then she just goes, cha-cha, and bop, and then bopped, and I'm not kidding, bopped, she even said bop, she went bop, and bopped me on the end of the willy. And then just left. It's like, what was she even here for? I don't know, she's just really good at accents and just heard mine and went, bang, fuck with this guy's like, I still talk about it now. But then about 2 minutes later, I'm walking down the aisle. And as I walked down the aisle, there's a beautiful, again, Asian lady squaring away some shopping, and a guy out of nowhere comes up behind her. She's wearing sports kit, and he just smacks her across the ass and goes, hey Barbara, good to see you again. It wasn't Barbara. It was not Barbara. I watched that man die on his ass. The shame, the embarrassment, he's just done this. But then he pulled it back. She was like, I'm from Thailand. Is Barbara from Thailand? Do I even look like Barbara? And he just goes, well, Barbara works really hard in the gym, she's got a fantastic figure, and from behind you look just like her. And then she started talking to him. They started, like within 2 feet, they were talking about going on a date. I was like, this guy's pulled this round. I would never get away with that. I'd be on a list. There's no fucking danger a guy that looks like me's getting away with that. But I get round to the next corner, and there's 2 blokes talking. One says, where's Dave? Oh, he's round the corner doing that thing where he slaps on a stranger's ass. And I was like, is that a line? It's a line. I was like, does it work? He's like, about 50% of the time. I was like, that blew my mind. I was like, lads, are you in the Navy? Because you know, you get a sense when you're in them, you can tell. And they were. And I ran into them 2 weeks later. Hitchner's Collingwood. And I said, oh, how did it go? And he said, sir, have you ever been to Thailand? I was like, yeah. So do you know that brief you get? And you get a brief on the way in where they put up a picture of a beautiful Thailand woman and a beautiful Thailand ladyboy. and then you play a game called Spot the Difference. Because many sailors didn't spot the difference. Turned out, neither did John. John found out halfway through his date that his date had a bigger penis than him. We don't need to go into how he found out. There was touching involved. So then I get the text. And ladies, if you're going to do this, my wife fucks with me. So because I like stand-up comedy, she likes to mess with me. And she sent me the text saying, I've just come on, I need some sanitary products, I need an applicator. I didn't know what that was, so I googled applicator. It's a thing that helps you put it in. Then she said, I need a tampon removal tool. And because I googled the first thing, I thought the second thing was real. Could I find a tampon removal tool? They don't exist. Did I ask the woman to help me? Yes, I did. Did that woman work for Asda? No, she did not. Did she call me a cunt and just move on? Yes, she did. Yes, she did. I absolutely deserved it for falling for it. But then, like, as if things couldn't get any weirder, I get to the till and there's a little Indian woman there who couldn't afford her shopping. So I thought, I'll do a good deed for the day, I'll pay for it. It was a tenner, it wasn't much. And she turned around and said, I believe in karma. May the world bring you a fresh pair of titties. It's like, this is the weirdest thing anyone's ever said to me in public. And she goes, I'd show you mine, but you know. And obviously I was like, this is so weird. But then I opened the bag to put the tampons inside. Remember the bag? The smell of it was horrific. So I'm like these, you know, the till checkout people at Aldi, just feeding the tampons into the bag to get out of there as fast as I can. But then as I get to the door, there's a woman coming in, beautiful, big-chested woman carrying a baby, around about 6-7 months. And we all know babies are handsy. Babies like to grab stuff. And this baby got at the front of this woman's top and just pulled it straight down. And out popped her boobies. I was like, that Indian woman's a witch. I'm back in there every week trying to pay for her shopping. Honest to God, this is insane. But remember the jacket? This is where the jacket happened. Turns out this lady's American and the baby is called Richard. So as I step forward to help hide her modesty, like this, so I look like I'm flashing her, out loud she said, oh my God, baby dick. That's what the security guard heard. He seen the visual. That man took me down. He was so confused when he stood up where my penis was in my trousers and this woman's trying to put her boobs away. He was like, I'm so sorry, I don't know what's going on. So then I go outside and at the boot of my car, dump the tampons out of the smelly bag, grab a fresh bag, smell the bag, obviously fresh bag, good, go. Go to put the tampons in, and a woman gets out of her car 2 cars away with an 8-year-old child, and she's walking past. I haven't noticed her yet, as I lift the box of tampons and sniff it. I was trying to figure out if the smell transferred, but she didn't know that. She's just looking at a ginger bloke stood in a car park sniffing tampons. So she did that walk, you know, the thing where you go, I avoid this guy, do the big D, do the big D. In that situation, if you find yourself in that situation, men, 2 things you should definitely consider. Don't chase her to explain you're not a pervert, and certainly don't do it holding a box of tampons aloft. You look like a mental case. It was the weirdest trip to Asda I've ever had in my life. I don't go back to that shop now because I've got PTSD again. But I'll leave you with this. That wedding in Belfast, I went to that wedding, right? And I went over to my brother. My brother lives in the same council estate in Belfast. I get to his house, and because I'm in the Navy, the accent thing, you know, I've got quite a strong accent. But I've never thought about that the other way around. So I talk to a lot of officers. I get a phone call from my mate, and he's genuinely called Rupert Cash. He's one of the poshest people I've ever met. So I'm on the phone to him, and my accent goes the other way. And I'm like, well, Rupert, it's a little bit nefarious. You know, we'll have to double check with the team, but we'll get to that on Monday. Ta-ta for now. Hang up the phone, turn around, and my Belfast council estate brother is staring at me with the angriest fucking look I have ever seen. And he's like, when did I get a posh prick for a brother? And I was like, I'm not a posh prick. And I looked to my wife, and I go, wife, you tell him. But because I talk about her fanny on stage, she just threw me on the bus. She was like, ask him what he had for breakfast. I was like, what did you have for breakfast? Had a poached egg, some smashed avocado, some shavings of smoked salmon, and he just looked me dead in the eye and just went, what a cunt, and walked out of the room. My dad was there, he didn't say a word, he just stood up and followed him out. I'm sitting there devastated in the council estate I grew up in thinking, well, I'm not posh. Well then, ladies and gentlemen, what happened is I looked down and all I could see were these fucking shoes. Ladies and gentlemen, I've been Irish, you've been awesome. Thank you very much.